Nitro number 187, April 12th, 1999. So this is the first day after Spring Stampede, which was in Tacoma, Washington.
Yeah, and then they went to Yakama.
They went to fucking Yakama.
Fuck.
I don't know how many cities in Washington State are bigger than Yakima, but it's a lot. So
Well, there's a lot of places that go. Like, WWE goes to Yakima to this day.
do they do show?
Yeah,
TV
like
shows there?
they do like a SmackDown. I think they've done there.
Did they? All right. Well, I only bring it up because at some point the announcers begin to bury Yakima as if it represents the entire state.
Well, I liked when first Tony's burying the state, and he goes, "It's called the Evergreen State. It was just raining all the time." I was like, "Well, yeah, you came to Seattle.
When you water plants, they are green. Yes."
Then he goes, "And now we come to Yakima. I haven't seen any trees." Which is true because there's a giant mountain range in the middle of Washington.
Yakima is in the desert.
We have two climates.
Yeah.
Like people don't know
More.
that, but you can leave beautiful Bothell, Washington, and head 2.5 hours. You go over that damn mountain, and you're literally in like the desert.
Yes.
It's weird.
It's all kinds of things.
See what the weather's like right now, because I may go over there tomorrow at this rate. Done with this. 52 degrees right now. I guess it's about like it is here.
It wasn't bad.
Disregard all that.
So anyway, at Spring Stampede, DDP won the world title in the 4-way. And so this show opens. Randy Savage was the special ref, and as we would later see, he would openly attack Ric Flair during that match and help Paige win. Sounds like a very terrible ref.
Yeah.
So Randy Savage and Gorgeous George congratulate Paige on being world champion, says, "You owe us a favor." And he says, "Whatever." And then Scott Steiner wipes out Paige from behind, gets a bleep for something, throws food on him, and leaves.
It was kind of funny. It was kind of a funny brawl. Kind of beat on him a little bit and was just being all crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard to take too seriously.
He's putting food on him.
A little wacky, yeah.
If you have showers in Yakima, he'll be okay. So Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan recap what just happened like we hadn't seen it at all with our own eyes, and then conveniently announce Paige versus Steiner for the world title tonight. And they recap Steiner throwing Kimberly out of a car a few months ago.
Yeah.
Sting comes out for a promo.
Talking.
So he's black and white Sting, as he notes, back in black, and he quotes AC/DC for a while. So he's Crow Sting all the way, but his cadence and his speaking tone is very much classic Surfer Sting. He's all happy and giddy and full of vim and vigor. He says he takes credit for building WCW, and it's him, not Dallas Page, who built this place. And he calls Paige out for tonight.
Wants a match tonight for the title.
Yeah. We had pics of Ray Jr. beating Kidman for the Cruiserweight title at Spring Stampede. Actually, I want to go back to the Sting thing for a minute. He's been Crow Sting now for, 2 years? And I know he did some promos when he was champion, and he did a little talking when he was with the
Well, wait a second. So
Wolfpack.
Starrcade was...
Starrcade 97.
97.
Yeah.
And so he was Crow Sting. I mean, when did that all start? I think it was 96.
Fall of 96.
Yeah,
so 2.5 years.
3 years.
Yeah. So it's not that he's been silent for that entire time, but it was weird to just see him come out and just blabber. Just run his mouth.
He did a little blabbering after the Starrcade show.
He's done some talking since, but
yeah.
not like this. We have pics of Ray Jr. beating Kidman for the Cruiserweight title at the Spring Stampede. And then Juventud Guerrera versus Rey Mysterio Jr. for the Cruiserweight title. Ray and Kidman are also still the tag team champs. There's great heat on the show. As much as they buried Yakima, they should have stayed there. And here's where they started making fun of the rain and the trees and everything. And you just hear Tony's voice. He cannot wait to get on an airplane and go back to the South. Or Texas, wherever he's from. Had a basic, fun match.
Texas?
Where's Tony from? I don't know.
I don't know, Carolinas?
Probably more, yeah. Anyway, they were having a fun match, and then Ray had a top rope Rana and outran Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko and attacked him for the DQ.
What the fuck is wrong with these two guys? Like, they've been a tag team, which sounds like a dream tag team. Mm-hmm. They've had nothing but boring matches.
There's one exception, yes.
They ran into Raven and Saturn, and somehow they got a good match out of Benoit and Malenko.
Yes.
Think about that. So they run in here, and like two green jobbers, they fucking grab Ray, and I don't know what they were thinking, but they tossed him like 10 feet in the air. Mm-hmm. He landed awkwardly. He crashed and burned and smashed the back of his head on the mat.
Yeah.
I was like, what were you guys thinking? You almost killed Rey Mysterio.
It looked like, and I think there was one on Raw too. One party involved thought it was a backdrop, and the other thought it was a flapjack.
Dude.
So they just threw him up in the air, and then no one had any control over what was happening next.
It looked like he was dead afterwards. He just kind of laid there, and they dragged him away, and then Raven and Saturn made the save.
Raven and Saturn ran out, and that was that.
But hey, it was a good wrestling match.
While it lasted, it was a good wrestling match.
Fans were into it.
That is definitely true. Jimmy Hart and Hugh Morris are preparing for a match with Bam Bam Bigelow when Hack walks up. He says, I can show you how to beat Bam Bam. And he hits Hugh in the head with his stick. And Hugh responds by no-selling this and beating up some random flunky with a stick instead. So it looks to me like Hack's plan failed.
Yeah.
I would not listen to him. Hack just shrugged and walked away. A Scott Steiner hype video. The announcers then talked about Bret Hart and drank some Surge. The most 90s thing of all time.
They've got a new sponsor, Surge.
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone's out there drinking from Surge bottles. I'm skeptical it's actually Surge in the bottle
or
based on this show.
Maybe not straight Surge.
Yeah, it might be Surge and cognac.
Yeah. So we had a montage of Bret Hart promos ending with him quitting a few weeks back.
I think I mentioned this on one of the other shows, but we went to Wale Mania. And Dave and I are back there with 9 billion other people, I might add. Mm-hmm. And Wale wants everyone to take a shot. I'm like, I don't want to take a shot. You're going to take a shot. And he goes and he gets this big thing of cognac. He starts pouring shots. I'm like, I don't want to take a shot. You're taking a shot.
How could you not want to do a shot with Wale?
Well, you know, I did not want to that much, but I was just like, can we avoid the shot? Like, have a good time without the shot? So he starts handing all these shots out, hands a shot to Dave Meltzer. Mm-hmm. I've known Dave since 1998. He's never taken a drink. So, like, he really doesn't want to take a shot. So he's got his shot glass in his hand. And I'm like, Dave. No, I'm signaling, just pour it out. Like, there's a million people back here. Mm-hmm. Just, pour it out and then fake, a worked shot.
Exactly.
While he has everyone raise their glasses, everyone starts pounding it down, and Dave goes, pounded that fucking thing. I almost gagged.
Yeah.
Dave just shot it down like a seasoned pro.
Dave's a man.
Yeah. But then afterwards he goes, I can't take another shot.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah.
We had pics of Bam Bam Bigelow beating Hack in a hardcore match at Spring Stampede. So the last picture they show, Bam Bam is in the ring and his fists are in the air. He's won the match. And there's a fan in the crowd who is holding his child aloft in front of Bam Bam. So there's no way to not get the kid in the shot unless they were, they could have gone back 1 second on the film, I'm sure, and found one. But point is, there's a kid in the shot, and as Tony's running down this hardcore match, he explains, quote, Bigelow survived this thing. The young kid did not. What?
I need to know more about this.
A child died at your show, and you're just now bringing that up? So this led to Hugh Morris versus Bam Bam Bigelow in a kendo stick match.
Sometimes I'm writing these reviews, and I think to myself, I watch like 3 minutes of it, and I'm like, this match sucks. I write a review.
That's the review, and
I'm like, this match sucked. Just a bullshit hardcore match. And then I keep watching it, and at the end I have to rewrite what I wrote. This was not a bad match. It was sloppy.
Yes.
But it was two big dudes who just decided, we're just going to break a bunch of shit and do a bunch of flips.
Yeah.
Crash and burn for your entertainment. And by the end, I was, in fact, very entertained by this match.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hugh missed a moonsault and went through a table. Or actually...
They started by missing moonsaults.
Well, they missed a bunch of moves. The best one was, there's a table.
I follow you, yeah.
And they put Bigelow on the table. And Hugh is going to do a moonsault through Bigelow and the table.
Sure.
But as he's going for it, Bigelow gets off the table. But he's fat. And so Hugh misses and goes through the table, but manages to still hit Bigelow on the way down with his feet.
Yes.
And so Bigelow goes flying.
Yes.
So he's landing in this giant pile of wood. And then Bigelow goes up top and he does a diving headbutt onto Hugh Morris, who is in the wood, gets the pin. I liked this match.
This was fun by the end.
Yeah.
They had a story.
They turned me.
They are two very, very large men who were surprisingly agile for their size, and they both wanted to one-up each other.
Yeah.
So Bam Bam The first thing he did, he grabbed Hugh, body slammed it, and missed a moonsault. And he was like, oh yeah? Watch this fucker. And he slammed Bam Bam, and he went up top, and he missed a moonsault. And they kept on going, and they hit each other with things, and Jimmy Hart was out there. The announcers are done. They were 2 matches in a Nitro, and they've had enough. Tony says it is a chore to watch these men climb the ropes. That's the word he used, chore. We do not want to watch wrestling. We want to watch weapon shots instead. And finally, we got the finish as you described. So Bam Bam wins. Jimmy Hart immediately hits the ring and begins to hit him with a stick. And Bam Bam goes after him, but Jimmy is in fact too fast for Bam Bam Bigelow. And the announcers...
He got away.
The announcers continue to treat all of this like a total joke. It was completely beneath them, but the guys worked very hard, and the crowd loved it. Kidman arrived at the building. Ray is very disappointed that Kidman was not there to watch us back, and Kidman says, I'm sorry, but they've got me doing all these autograph signings.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, not Rey Mysterio.
No.
Who holds 2 titles.
Billy Kidman.
Billy Kidman's out there signing autographs.
For the fine people of Yakama.
And the other part is, let's just say this is true. WCW sent this guy out to do autograph signings, and he just got to the building. Mm-hmm. Ray is like such a crybaby. Like, where were you? Kidman's like, I was sent somewhere else, but you didn't have my back. No shit. I was somewhere else. I didn't know you were going to be jumped. Ray would not let this go.
They acted very badly and juvenile. Eventually they reconciled. It felt like something out of like Saved by the Bell. It pics of the 4-way championship match from Spring Stampede.
That's funny, is Saved by the Bell. That's like a combat sports term.
Yes.
That they used for a show about kids in school. Because the bell rang, and I guess you were saved by the bell.
You figured it out. You cracked the code.
But I'm just bringing up that you said, this is like Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. This is more Saved by the Bell than Saved by the Bell, because it's pro wrestling.
You're right, Brian.
Thank you.
You're always right.
Thank you. I'm not always right, but like 99% of the time.
So Hogan leaves the 4-way with a knee injury. They say he's already on his Learjet to see Dr. Andrews in Birmingham. And then special referee Randy Savage turned on Flair and helped Page win. And then suddenly, Dallas Page is in the ring cutting a promo.
That was bizarre.
Now, I don't know what happened. And the Nitro or the shows they put up on 24/7 were edited differently than those that were edited for the network. But maybe because his music is so much like Nirvana, they just edited off this show.
Well, they've done that many times, but I mean, maybe they actually showed. Well, that doesn't make sense. Here's what I know. So, at some point on the show, there's a reference to Bret Hart being on like later or some wacky show. Yeah. On the actual show, they showed the footage, but they didn't show it here. So there must have been some footage of something that they cut out that made this so awkward.
I did notice this thing was only 2 hours and 10 minutes on the network.
Yeah, they must have cut a lot of stuff out for some reason.
A good chunk of stuff got cut out for whatever reason.
I mean, I would say they weren't allowed to show footage from WCW, but they own it.
Yeah. So, Page is gloating about his win, but he stops to drop a sincere line about how he's sorry about Hogan's leg injury.
Yeah.
He wanted Hogan to be in the ring when he won the world title.
It killed him to see Hogan have to go, but he sucked it up to win the world title.
That's right.
That was like a heel line.
Well, yes. You figure that out. So, Gene brings up Sting, who has already called out Page tonight, and Page says, Sting and I have a lot in common. I see a lot of myself in Sting, which is also a heel line. And Sting deserves a title shot tonight, but he can't get it because I want Scott Steiner instead. And he made a dick joke, and he left, and they scurried to commercial to avoid playing his music again.
He says, I'm going to prove that size doesn't matter. Something you've probably heard a few times, Steiner.
Yeah.
I was like, clearly this was before he beat the shit out of you that one day.
That's probably true.
Like, I can't imagine saying something like that to Scott Steiner. Even some bullshit fake line in a promo. That guy's nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's crazy and scary. So we got a shot of the announcers jibber-jabbering and putting their negative chemistry on full display. The fact these two men, Tony and Bobby, were no one split them up for years and years.
Yeah, but they were also laughing at each other. I mean, it was a weird kind of dynamic.
This is not like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I thought Tony was going to start throwing punches.
No.
But they were not a good pair.
No, but he was really bearing today. He's
That's
like
true.
Barrington A's voice and making fun of Larry Golfin all the time. Like they're doing this weird announcer feud with one group on Nitro, one group on Thunder.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing this for? What's the point?
That's the payoff, yes.
Yeah. I mean, to amuse us, I guess, but there is no payoff.
Mean Gene brings Ric Flair out for a promo. Flair is upset about Page booking matches, and then he announces he's going to have the World Championship held up, and there'll be no champion. And the announcers and Gene are all debating whether or not he can do this as president, when Randy Savage interrupts to his new generic music. He comes out and says, I have a contract signed by Ric Flair. He stopped here in the middle of this to call himself the Universal Heartthrob, the Big Showstopper, and the Cock of the Walk. And he says this, and Flair starts to giggle.
He giggles, but he's mad.
Yes.
Like, you're not the cock of the walk.
That's right. I'll
That's
show
me.
you.
By the way, like, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, we were reviewing these shows, and Randy Savage was on there, and I said, God, it's so weird, because, like, it's not too long before he comes back, and he's, like, really weird looking. Like, what happened? Because he doesn't look like that at all right now. Well, what happened is he took time off, because he came back weird looking.
He did.
He's got a new body. He's wearing that do-rag. He's got his hair all weird.
Weird jacket.
Got a 22-year-old girlfriend with him.
Yeah.
She's our age right now.
Well, yeah.
Do you know that?
She would be. So the point of this contract is Ric Flair signed this thing, making Randy Savage the special referee for the four-way.
Special reefer?
That I cannot confirm or deny that they had one of those too. Special referee for the four-way, and Savage's decision is final. There's nothing Flair can do about it. Which begs the question, why did Flair sign this contract for the referee in his own title match?
Because this promotion sucks.
That's the answer.
And they book on the fly, and they have to come up with bullshit to try to make it make sense, which never happens, by the way.
No. So Flair says Savage is not reinstated. He's not a wrestler. He's not reffing anymore. He's not even allowed to clean the bathrooms. Charles Robinson is there with Flair. He jumps in saying Savage isn't qualified to ref a match, and he calls Gorgeous George a bimbo.
Oh, man. She slaps the shit out of him.
Yes. And Savage says, I want to wrestle more than life itself, so I have a challenge.
Okay, let's all stop here for a second and just recap what's going on, okay?
All right.
Savage comes out, and he tries to be the cock of the walk. And Flair's like, well, fuck you, you're fired. Savage realizes, shit, I actually want to work here.
Yes.
So Flair, Flair does not want him reinstated. He doesn't want him coming out down the aisle, walking to the ring with the girl, doesn't even want him to be a janitor.
No.
You're out of here, you're fired. And Savage says, well, what about if Gorgeous George and Little Nate wrestle, and if she wins, I'm back?
Yeah.
And Flair's like, hey, sure. This sucks, okay? Like, it's not the shittiest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it sucks.
He challenged the man's pride and ego.
No, he didn't. He challenged Little Nature's pride and ego.
Who is Flair's protege.
Oh, God.
So by proxy.
This is dumb. And then, I don't remember what happened in the match, okay? But Flair says Little Nate is going to beat her with the figure 4 leg lock.
Yes.
And Randy Savage says, well, she's going to win with the flying elbow. Are you fucking kidding me?
Do you remember this?
No. Did they ever come off the top with a flying fucking elbow on Little Nate? With zero training.
I remember, I'm trying to remember your exact words. She delivered an elbow as if she was trying to drive her elbow through the man's sternum. Like all her weight comes down on the point of her elbow on his chest.
Oh, great.
Yes. You freaked out.
I'm freaking out right now.
Thinking about it. It's as bad as you're thinking.
And then I think it's Tony goes, well, she does have big elbows. I was like, what? Is that supposed to be like a boob joke, but you're talking about her elbows? I didn't know what was going on in this segment.
So Sting comes out and says Diamond Dallas Trash is dodging him. So he challenges Flair for tonight. Arn accepts on Flair's behalf and says, I'll be out there too. And then Sting and Flair go face to face and nose to nose. They're cutting each other down, and it's awesome. Why didn't Sting and Flair just wrestle on every single episode of Nitro?
They should have.
They were
By the end, they wrestle on most of them, I think.
They were on the very first show, and they were on the very last show. They should have been on every single show in the middle.
You know, I said that like I'm right 99% of the time, but 1% of the time I'm wrong.
Okay.
This is one of those times because I could, if no matter what I tell you what happened here, I was wrong.
Okay.
I'm just befuddled. And it actually was a decent segment.
Yeah.
Like everybody, there was nobody that bumbled over anything.
Everyone came off looking good.
Yeah, it was nonsensical.
Flair
but like,
was good. Savage was good.
Yeah.
Nate was good. George was hot. Sting was awesome.
Overall, this was a very good show, but we'll get to that.
La Parka and El Dandy versus the Master Blasters.
The Master Blasters literally were wearing pantyhose on their heads.
Yes. On national television.
They come out here wearing pantyhose on their heads. Two jacked up dudes. I guess they were friends with a couple of guys. I don't remember who. They didn't last long.
I would assume it would be this one match.
And the announcers are just chugging this surge. And
it explains a lot the more I think about it.
I think it was Bobby. I don't even remember what he said because it wasn't very funny. But he basically said, after the match tonight, these guys can go rob a bank. Tony thought this was the funniest thing Bobby had ever said.
Yes.
He howled with laughter. He was crying. I don't know why, but they were sure drinking that surge.
So you got La Parka in no shirt and purple tights, El Dandy in no shirt and purple tights, and La Parka in a skeleton costume, and they look significantly less absurd than the big jacked up dudes with pantyhose on their heads. Now, wasn't Kevin Nash's tag team way back in the day, wasn't that also the Master Blasters?
Yes,
because
but not these two.
No, clearly not these two. But Tony made a comment about how there was a team known as the Master Blasters about 8 years ago that was pretty big, pretty tough. So they start to wrestle, and Nash immediately comes out. He is also drinking surge.
Fuck.
They play a Wolfpack howl as he walks out in the middle of this match. He gets in the ring with the mic and says, "Sorry guys, I'm not on the show, but I got something to say. Y'all need to leave."
Yeah, get out of here, everybody.
Mm-hmm. So they don't leave. He beats them all up in a terrible display.
Dude, he's holding a mic, okay? First, he just starts booting random guys. Then he starts giving side slams, but he only has one arm, so it looks so phony.
Yes.
He beats them all up and makes them look like absolute geeks. And then, after all that, his big announcement is, I'm getting a championship match at the next pay-per-view. That's what I negotiated with Flair last week.
You're leaving out the heavy breathing because he was completely blown up.
That's right.
From 3 power bombs and a couple of boots.
But the point is, what a dick.
Yes.
You had to run in and ruin that match for that?
Let's break down this announcement, in fact, and all that went into it. He shows the video last week. He was all chummy with Ric Flair, and we were all confused as to why they were friends. And here Nash explains. They made a deal that if Flair left Nitro last week with the world title, then Kevin Nash would get a title shot at whoever was champion at the next pay-per-view, which I believe is Slamboree. So, to recap, they do the crazy thing on Nitro last week. At Spring Stampede, Nash loses to Goldberg clean. Flair loses the title. And on the next show, it's Nash who gets a title shot.
Yes.
This man's amazing. This is ingenious.
Well, he's not that ingenious because he didn't manage to beat Goldberg again.
Well, I guess
he did actually have to do a job.
But he found a way to return the favor to Goldberg and still come out of it challenging for the title on the next show.
Of course.
He's still way higher
because they probably talked him into, listen, do the job for Goldberg and you'll headline the next pay-per-view.
Yes.
He's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So he played the game. He calls out Page, says he's going to punish him for what happened to Hogan, and apparently now it's Nash versus Page at the pay-per-view. Kidman versus Psicosis. Your standard WCW Cruiserweight match. Dives in the ring, dives out of the ring, and Kidman won with the powerbomb counter and the shooting star press.
Yeah, don't powerbomb Kidman. Have we ever mentioned that before?
Terrible idea.
It's a fact. I will say one more thing about this match. It's Kidman versus Psicosis in Yakama, which actually does have a heavy Hispanic population, so maybe that's why they were into Psicosis. But the point is, they were very into this match, and it was so much more heat than any Cruiserweight match you'd see on Raw, or most of them you'd still even see today on 205 Live, because it is a testament to the kind of fans that went to WCW events.
True.
These were not WWE fans. These were fans of wrestling, and they were fans of NWA World Championship Wrestling. And they went to these shows. They watched this show. Like, even when Raw was at its peak, there were like 4 million people still watching Nitro. They were WCW wrestling fans. Mm-hmm. They stuck with it. Unfortunately, the company started giving them less and less of what they wanted. Yes. That's why they went out of business. But because they were that sort of fan, when WCW died, to them, wrestling died.
Yes.
WWE was not wrestling. And so they vanished into the ether. That was these fans watching this match tonight.
So we had pics of Goldberg beating Nash at Spring Stampede. Not only was it clean, Lex Luger tried to interfere and Goldberg fought him off too. So then Mean Gene brings Goldberg out for a promo. And Goldberg says he got to 174-0 and then he got screwed. And they bleeped screwed. So he got his vindication last night, he says. Now he's moving on to Bret Hart. Not the world title, I'll mention that later. So he says he was the hunted as champion. Now he's the hunter. He's going to find Bret wherever he is.
Gene goes, hold on, dude. He announced his retirement.
Yeah, he quit.
Goldberg does not buy this.
No.
Because he's not an idiot.
Gene brings up Luger, who'd interfered, and Goldberg threatened to knock Luger's face off, which seems excessive to me.
It sucks.
And finally, Gene brings up the world title. Goldberg sincerely congratulated Page on his title win. He meant this. But it said it didn't matter if Page is the president, or Page has the belt, or the president has the belt, or King Kong has the belt. I'm going to get it. And then he immediately said he didn't need the belt to be the champ. And they wrap this up. Gene says, it's not like the question isn't who's next, it's who's left. And Goldberg says, no, it's not who's left, it's who's next.
Gene fucked the whole thing up. What an idiot. Goldberg was a totally fine promo.
Yeah.
Like, he felt real.
Yes.
He didn't feel like some numbskull being a fake pro wrestler or anything like that.
Oh, God, no.
Not a great promo, but he was a good promo. He was a phenomenon of a wrestler.
Yes, that's for sure.
He's a Hall of Awesomer if ever there was one. He's in there, right?
I think so.
Pretty sure we put him in.
He absolutely should be.
God damn it. Now I got to check. I don't even know who's in my own Hall of Awesome.
Apparently, Randy Orton was inducted when I was...
Yeah.
Was I sick? What happened?
You weren't it was on the Filthy show.
Filthy can do this now?
Well, no, I did it.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, you agree, right? He's awesome.
He has been awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? On behalf of my wife, Bridget, I will say Randy Orton's awesome.
See, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That was easy. See that, everybody? Easy.
Yeah.
Where the hell is my Hall of Awesome? Where would it be on the board? The radio shows?
Yeah. It's sticky up in the radio shows section.
All right, here we go. Let's see who's in the Hall of Awesome. So we got Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, J.J. Dillon, Minoru Suzuki, Okada, Dick Murdoch, Ric Flair, Goldberg, Bret Hart, and Randy Orton.
I want these men on a card now.
That's a pretty damn awesome haul. Yeah.
I want Suzuki versus Goldberg. Oh, that'd be fun. Booker T versus Rick Steiner. 24 hours after Booker T versus Scott Steiner at the pay-per-view. So they're having a fun back and forth match. Rick goes up top. The ref gets bumped. Rick goes up top. Stevie Ray knocks him off with a slapjack, and Booker hits a sidekick for the win. And the gimmick is Booker did not even know that his brother had interfered and given him this win.
So this is a little nitpick. I mean, it wasn't bad, but the ref takes a bump and he goes down.
Yes.
This is to set up Stevie Ray using the slapjack. Mm-hmm. But the ref goes down and then he gets right back up.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I'm like, well, what did you take a fucking bump for, dude? Then Stevie Ray runs down. The ref is already back on his feet. So then the ref just goes, huh.
My eyes.
And starts grabbing his eyes. I'm like, what happened with your eyes? And he hides his eyes till the guy comes in and then he counts the pin. Can they do anything right?
I forget which show it was, but one of these, there's a ref bump where the guy's down for like 8 minutes. It's just down forever. Scott Steiner comes out, cuts a promo saying, Yakama women are ugly, but he's going to fuck one anyway. I'm paraphrasing. Kenny Chaos versus Goldberg.
Second half was good. I don't know why Goldberg decided, let's have a match, Kenny. You get a little heat.
He wanted to no-sell some punches.
I'll make a comeback.
Throw him around a bit. When you say the second half, this only went like a minute.
No, hell no. It went like
longer?
at least 3 minutes.
All right.
I was like 90 seconds too long.
So, yeah, he...
My favorite. He sets him up for a pump handle. He bends the guy over, puts the guy's arm between his own legs, grabs it, goes underneath like he's going to do the big pump handle. And Tony Schiavone, who's been drinking a lot of Surge, goes, God, that must hurt. Didn't even do anything yet.
No.
But he's got his arm between his legs. That must hurt.
You've never seen a less flexible man than Kenny Chaos trying to get pump handled.
So he gets him for the pump handle. He's got him all set up. And of course, you did the one where you lift him up and slam him.
Yes.
I think Road Dogg does the same one.
Yeah.
Some guys lift
Wade
him up
Barrett
and
did.
Yeah, drop him over the knee.
Yeah.
Goldberg gets this guy in the pump handle, and then he just goes whoosh.
Yes.
And fucking suplexes the guy 10 feet over his head.
Yes.
It was so awesome.
And there's some where you can see, not only does he suplex him over his head, but at first he lifts him off the ground first. So he's suplexing dead weight.
Yes.
He's amazing. And then he won with a jackhammer. Shocking, I know.
He's awesome.
He beat Kenny Chaos. Ric Flair versus Sting. They did every Ric Flair Sting match ever, and it was
Cool.
just as good as all the other ones.
Let's do some more of them.
Yes.
It was one of those matches where, like, they're doing every Flair Sting match I've ever seen, and so at first I'm kind of bored, but then it was fucking great by the end.
Yes. There's a reason they do the same one every time. Fans really hated Ric Flair, chanting that he sucked. So Flair gets his brief moment of offense, and he goes for a knee drop, and Sting doesn't sit up or dodge, roll out of the way. He just reaches up and catches the leg.
Yes.
like
I've
he's
seen
bench
this many
pressing it.
times in Sting Flair matches. It's
Yes.
preposterous, but it works.
And he hits the figure 4.
Let me talk about the finish.
All right.
So first, Macho runs down. Flair's got Sting
Arn
in the
had been
figure 4.
interfering a lot.
Flair has Sting in the figure 4, and Arn's helping him.
Yes.
Macho Man runs down and just kills Arn Anderson, who, by the way, is retired for a bad neck. He's out there taking bumps like crazy. WWE would never allow this today. So Flair goes for a suplex. Sting slips behind, hits the Scorpion Death Drop. Charles Robinson drops down. He will not count. So what do they do for a finish because Charles Robinson won't count? Sting goes, count! And so he counted.
Yes. So otherwise, Sting was going to kill him.
I didn't know it was that easy. All these years, these shitheads can't figure out how to get a heel ref to count for you.
Yeah.
Just fucking tell him.
Threaten him with violence.
He didn't even threaten him. He just goes, count.
Well, I'm sure the threat was implied. If you'd seen the look in Sting's
Well,
eyes,
sure.
Charles Robinson
I mean, he's
did.
painted up.
But it made sense because he doesn't want to count because Flair's his god, and Sting's got the cover, and he won't. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to count because he wants Flair to win. But Arn's dead. Flair's dead. There's no one else to save him from the scary mime if he pisses him off. So eventually he has no choice. He must count 3. Has to get out of there somehow. So I don't blame Charles for what he did. I don't question his loyalty either. It made sense. Arn hits the ring. Sting puts him in the Scorpion for good measure.
Oh, man. Then we got the main event. Here we go.
So Roddy Piper comes out to join the
Oh,
contest.
you're going way too fast. It's DDP Scott Steiner for the world title.
Yes.
They hit Roddy's music. I'm like, Roddy Piper? What the fuck's going on? This dude lurches down to the ring.
Yeah.
Like, they had 15 minutes left. It's a Nitro main event. They usually go a minute. So, boy, did this fucker take his time down to the ring. He lurches down to the ring. You've never seen a guy moving so slow. Finally gets down to the ring, starts rambling in the booth, and we go to Michael Buffer. Not as good as last week. But I did like when,
Is the Steiner line?
in describing Scott Steiner, he said, he is wrestling's genetic freak. The only thing he loves more than his physiques, plural, is hating everyone who gets in his way.
That was awesome. That was my favorite Michael Buffer ever.
Oh, no. He's had way better than that.
The only thing he likes more than his physique is hating everyone who gets in his way. That's like the one thing Scott Steiner and I have in common. I also hate everyone who gets in my way more than I like my own physiques.
Physiques.
So Piper comes out and he joins the commentary desk and immediately begins to talk about the Nitro Girls' boobs.
Oh, yeah. He's just talking about their boobs and everything. So then DDP comes out.
Yeah.
And he comes through the curtain and he beckons for Kimberly.
Yeah.
And Kimberly starts coming out with him. She's all smiles. And then she starts heading off to the side.
Yeah.
DDP's like, no, come with me. She's like, I don't want to come with you.
Scott
come
Steiner's
with
in the
me.
ring. He's going to try and kill me.
She's all pissed off. He's dragging her ass to the ring. She clearly doesn't want to be any part of this. I was like, this is not going to bode well for your marriage, my friend.
No.
And in the end, it didn't.
No.
And he puts her there in the front row. She is fucking swarmed by weirdos. And security rushes over there to save her.
Yeah.
They go back to commentary.
So Paige is wearing the title belt backwards for reasons that were never explained. I don't know. We talked earlier about his music for the promo segment where they just cut it out entirely. Here they could not cut out his entrance, so the editing they did for his theme song was just bizarre.
They just turned the volume all the way down. You could barely hear Buffer.
You could barely hear the announcers, but it also sounded like they were underwater and there was an echo. It was like, we for whatever reason, we want to erase the song, but we can't, so we'll cover it up with as much random noise as we can.
So they go back to the announcers, and they're talking about how... Well, first Piper says he's burying DDP. Now he won the title.
Well, that too, but he's appalled at the way he's wrestling here.
Yeah, so he says, I'm the commissioner, things are about to change.
Oh, he's the commissioner, I forgot.
So they're wrestling, and Piper goes, DDP, he threw your wife out of a moving car. Like, do something.
Why are you posing to the crowd?
Yeah, and Bobby Heenan says, well, I don't know. I don't think that Steiner knew that she was in the car, and I think she jumped out. And Roddy Piper, who normally is like on Mars, hears this and he just says, on her head? And there's a pause, and Heenan goes, I believe you're right. So they cut to the announcers, and like, I'm glad we're like, if you don't have the video, you can't see this. I'm just going to explain it. They cut to the announcers, and normally it's the three announcers sitting at the desk with their papers in front of them, and they're talking. Mm-hmm. They cut to the desk. Heenan is facing the camera with his papers. Roddy Piper is facing the camera with his papers. And Tony Schiavone is like leaning back in his chair, and he's just laughing his ass off at Roddy Piper. Roddy's he's talking about how Flair's broke. He's broke. He's doing everything he can now to make money as the president. He ain't got no money. He says, Steiner, he turned in a big Papa Pump right after Viagra came out.
He said that.
I'm like, if this fucker hears you say that. Buries DDP for not giving Sting a match tonight. Buries Hulk Hogan for leaving after he hurt his knee. What a coward. He hurt his knee and he walked out. He's just going on and on.
So they're brawling all over the place, Steiner and Page are. And the ref gets bumped. Steiner cuts off a turnbuckle pad. Here's the ref bump that was like 5 minutes long. So gets his head thrown on the turnbuckle pad, but there's no ref. Page hits a DDT, but there's no ref. So Steiner says it's time for me to break this man's back and make him humble. And he goes for the Steiner recliner. And Page counters this by, from his hands and knees, he thrusts his head up and up and up over and over again, so the back of his head strikes Scott Steiner in the testicles over and over again.
Hey, that would hurt.
Oh, it sure would.
Want me to do that to you?
I don't.
Okay.
But it also made me laugh over and over again. So Paige stumbles over through the ropes, and Kimberly jumps up and just waffles Scott Steiner with a chair. And Paige hits a diamond cutter, and the ref revives and counts the pin, and that's the end of the show.
Dude, given the storyline, this finish was awesome.
Yeah.
And boy, did she fucking whack this guy with his chair.
I'm sure he told her,
this
look good.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, Vinny. Like, you get a normal person with a chair, and you can tell them to make it look good, and they're still going to swing it as weakly as possible. Mm-hmm. Not Kimberly.
No.
She swung that chair like a baseball bat, whacked that guy in the head. This was a good match. Mm-hmm. Great finish.
Yeah.
Played into the storyline. Show was not winning the war. In fact, you'll be stunned to hear, but after weeks and weeks of bullshit hour ones, the first hour of the show absolutely just died in the ratings. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It was a fun, professional wrestling show.
Fun is a good word.
Yes.
I have seen better shows, for sure, but this was fun. I enjoyed myself watching it.
Now, speaking of the head butt to the balls when a guy goes for a recliner, mm-hmm. I mean, if you were in a street fight trying to put a guy in a recliner, like, that's a good escape.
Okay.
Right? His ball's right above your head. Drive your head up into him.
Sure.
Am I wrong?
I'm not going to argue with
so
this.
So it reminded me of the NXT show. Just another thing that I really liked. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa are having an unsanctioned fight.
Yeah.
So at one point, Johnny Gargano puts him in the Gargano escape.
Yes.
Now, I mean, I presume there's no rope breaks, right? It's unsanctioned. Mm-hmm. So Ciampa's selling and selling and selling like he's about to submit. And then he just takes both of his hands and he gouges him into the guy's eyes to escape.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
Yes.
I had no commentators explaining any of this to me. Mm-hmm. That's why that match was so great. I'm just watching the match. They told such a great story. I didn't need the commentators. Mm-hmm. That may be the first show in WWE history to get 2 5-star ratings in one show.
I get it.
Because the ladder match
was
is almost
unbelievable.
You should have been there live.
I should have, actually. You're right.
And the main event, same deal.
I spent 48 hours or whatever thinking, God, I should have gone to New Orleans. Then I watched Mania and thought, I made the right move. I stayed home.
Vinny, let me tell you something. The first, all the way through the Ronda match, I was so glad I went to Mania.
Yeah.
And when the show was over, I was not glad that I went to Mania.
Just less glad.
But I arrived Thursday. I didn't sleep more than like 4 or 5 hours I was fucking exhausted. But I still, every show I was looking forward to, every show I had fun.
Yeah.
I was having so much fun the entire weekend. But when WrestleMania had ended, I ran so hard into that wall.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was like, get me the fuck home now.
Did you fly home that night?
No, it was next morning. Very early, by the way. But I'm not saying WrestleMania was bad, but I will say that
I will.
When that 7-hour show was over, I was done for my weekend was done.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't stay for Raw.
Oh, God, I can't.
I couldn't have done it. I'd have died.
Yeah, I don't
There'd be no show right now.
But yes, I do wish that I had been there. It seemed like it was a lot of fun the whole
Dude,
weekend.
it was, I swear to God, I haven't gone to every one, but what was the first year we went? 2006? 7?
Well, technically 2003, but...
since we started going every
somewhere,
year.
I think it was 07.
07 or whatever.
Orlando, yeah.
Okay, so with the exception of last year, I went to every single WrestleMania since 2007. This was far and away the best WrestleMania weekend ever. Like, I was dreading going for 5 days.
Yeah.
I was in pain. And then the trip to the airport was the biggest load of bullshit. Like, there was traffic all the way there.
Yeah.
They got a 7-story parking garage. Not one open place to park.
Excellent.
Then I get in there, and I'm in the fucking line for security, and nobody's moving. And finally, they're like, this is the training line for the dog. They got a sniffing dog, sniffing for drugs.
Yeah.
So what they had to do was, they would just stop the line for like 5 minutes, and they'd have the dog go back and forth to practice sniffing, not a criminal. And then they'd actually have a guy with like coke on him.
Oh.
And they'd have him run through the line. The dog would fucking go nuts.
Oh.
Then they'd open up the line for us to go again. I almost missed this plane. And I was like, you know what? If I miss this plane, this trip was not meant to be.
A sign from God.
I was not going to rebook this flight. But then, like, when the weekend was over, I am so glad I went. So everybody, you need to go next year.
Yeah.
You need to go to WrestleMania weekend. It's awesome. All right, your music.
Oh, right. I forgot this week. The finishes on this show were disqualification due to run-in, pin in a hardcore match, non-finish due to promo, clean pin, pin after a slapjack, pin despite a crooked ref, and pin after a ref bump and low blows and a chair shot and other bullshit.
Excellent reporting, Vinny.
Why, thank you, sir.
You deserve a Marconi for that.
That sounds impressive.
Yeah.